Welcome back, dear viewers. You're still watching Nile Cruise on Nile TV, and dear viewers, the National Museum of Civilization, of Egyptian Civilization in Fustat, is organizing different events to celebrate the 200th anniversary of the Rosetta Stone's discovery on the 27th of September, which led to deciphering ancient Egyptian writing and the emergence of Egyptology. Under the title Tales and Secrets, Dynamic will organize a variety of culture and educational activities for visitors of all age groups. And to know more about this event and how it changed the course of Egyptology in Egypt itself, we are delighted to host Mr. Mahrous Elsanadidy, a specialist in Egyptology at the Nemec Museum.
Right, Rana, and welcome, sir, to Nile Cruise. Dr. Sanadi, thank you for joining us. Before hieroglyphs could be deciphered, sir, life in ancient Egypt had been a mystery for centuries, with only tantalizing glimpses into this forgotten world. So how was the Rosetta Stone the key to this discovery?
So it's a pleasure to show with you, and I am happy to talk with you, especially on this day. This day is 27th September. In every year, we are celebrating in Egyptology Day, and especially this year is considered the 200 years of Egyptology, and this a good occasion for you to talk about Rosetta Stone. So, and about decoding or decoding ancient Egyptian language, it dates back to early period from Greco-Roman time and from early Islamic period, and there are many attempts for decoding ancient Egyptian language, as Jabir ibn Hayyan, Zannun, and Ibn Wahshiyya al-Nabati tried to solve the secret of ancient Egyptian language. And as example, Ibn Wahshiyya al-Nabati wrote in his book about ancient Egyptian language, special hieroglyphic fonts and signs. And I think at the beginning of 19th century, some historian scholars in Egyptology called Joseph Homer translated this article from this book. But about our language, or ancient Egyptian language, after Champollion, I think it is considered a turning point related to Egyptology. And first, I'd like to introduce about what is the stone, what is the Rosetta Stone, Rosetta where we found, and the story for finding, and the content of Rosetta Stone, and the significance of Rosetta Stone. So Rosetta Stone was found by chance while French troops while reconstructing Qaitbay citadel in Rosetta or Rashid area. And Rashid is located on the top of the Nile River, or on the top of Rashid branch of Nile River. And while French troops were reconstructing this citadel or fortress, they found this stone. And the leader of these troops called Jean-Pierre Bouchard. And when he saw the inscription on this stone, he sent to Cairo. And at that time, Egypt was under French occupation, under French campaign, and who sent it to Cairo. And then at that time, there was a struggle and conflicting between English troops and French troops and so on. And in 1801, there was an agreement between English troops and French troops after many many wars between them, and there was an agreement, and one condition of this agreement, the French troops should hand over all objects and artifacts which collected and gathering from Egypt, and including this object and artifacts was the Rosita Stone. And from this time, from 1801, moved to England, and it was displayed in the British Museum since this time. And then the British Museum make many copies and disseminated to many museums across Europe for studying this stela. Especially this stela is inscribed by 3 fonts and 2 languages. 2 languages where ancient Egyptian language was written in 2 scripts or 2 fonts, hieroglyphs and demotics, and ancient Greek. And for Greeks it was easier for scholars at that time to translate them, but for hieroglyphs and demotic were very difficult to do that. And so scholars at that time, as Thomas Young, Sylvester Dussacy, tried to decode this stone, but didn't manage to decode that, but arrived to some translation or some comparison between some fonts. And then Champollion began to study this Rosetta and take a long time for that. And how Champollion managed to decode ancient Egyptian language. So Champollion was knowing very well ancient Greek and many Middle East language, and he taught a Coptic font or a Coptic language from an Egyptian priest who was living in France at his time. And he told the last phase of ancient Egyptian language was a Coptic, because ancient Egyptian language is written by 4 fonts: hieroglyphs or hieroglyphic fonts, then hieratic, then domotic, and the last font ancient Egyptian was written is Coptic. And this is a last phase for ancient Egypt. And if we make a comparison...
Sir, sorry to interrupt you, but can we know, please, could you explain, please, the significance of this deciphering of the Egyptian language?
Yeah, it is very significant. It is very, very important and significant to decode this language, because it helped us to read and translate many things related to ancient Egyptian civilization. And we managed to read and translate all texts, all inscription on temples, on tombs, on stela, on ostraka, and everything, and to know what Egyptian civilization, especially ancient Egyptian language, one of the oldest language over the world. It was invented in the 4th millennium BC, or more, 6,000 years ago, and developed according to Egyptian needs. So Egyptian developed the fonts that it used as hieroglyphics in prehistorical period or proto dynasty, then in Old Kingdom, then in Middle Kingdom, and Middle Kingdom Egyptian language called the Golden Age of Egyptian language, and then New Kingdom, then Greco-Roman, and some words and some items inserted in ancient Egyptian language. And in the 3rd century after the Christ, when Christianity entered Egypt, and when Egyptian Christians tried to express about some terms, and they couldn't do that by Egyptian language, and so they invented a Coptic font, and the Coptic font is a mix between 24 characters of Greek language and 7 letters of ancient Egyptian language. And then, for that, we consider decoding ancient Egyptian language is very important, because it started new science called Egyptology. And from that time, from 1822, especially 27 September 1822, is considered the beginning of new science over the world called Egyptology.
Speaking of science, Dr. Elsanadidy, a 3,000-year-old measuring rod in a museum in Torino in Italy was an essential clue for Champollion to unravel Egyptian mathematics, discovering that the Egyptians used units inspired from the human body to do the measurements. Can you tell us more about that, please?
And so this is one of the most important and significant related decoding ancient Egyptian language, to translate everything about ancient Egyptian, including mathematics, including social life, including religion, including science. As example, pyramid texts. And pyramid texts, as example, tell us a lot of stories related to ancient Egyptian religious texts. Talk about how imagination and expectation for Egyptian for afterlife, and also for creation, for social life, and also it gives us a principle for many theories, and Greek theories and Greek science and Greek civilization based their science and civilization on Egyptian civilization from this science. And so decoding ancient Egyptian language helped us to know a lot of things related to the mystery, the secrets of ancient Egyptian in many fields, and also it is an inspiration for us to know a lot of things also, because it created for us to know many secrets about this civilization, and how Egyptian built this civilization, which based on science, not on random or and ancient Egyptian also from the most important things related to Egyptian civilization is documentation. So Egyptian documented everything in language, in drawing, in illustration, and so that helped us to know many things about all things about their lives. Now we are displaying a copy of Rosita Stone, which came from the British Museum, but the original copy of the Rosita Stone is displaying in the British Museum since 1802 up to now. And now there is a popular campaign for restoring the original copy of Rosita Stone to Egypt, because it has significant or important meanings for us, because it is related to an important event that refer to decoding ancient Egyptian language. When Jean-Francois Champollion announced in 27 September 1822 that he managed to read and translate the Rosita Stone text, and he announced for beginning new science, and the science from that time called Egyptology. And from that time, and translation and decoding ancient Egyptian language helped us to know a lot of things related to Egyptian civilization in every fields, about architecture, agriculture, social life, religious, medicine, mathematics, and everything related Egyptian life. And also it was it inspired all scholars and scientists in every fields, not only who are studying the history or the Egyptology or archaeology, but all fields are interested in ancient Egyptian civilization, because they started for them to follow each field from the beginning, because Egypt is considered a pioneering country for everything, for crafts, for religious, for medicine, for astronomy, for social life, for going up to the sky. So Egyptian thought that he will go up to the sky by two boats, for spacemen who going up horizontally to planets or to moon and so on. So Egyptian imagined from more 5,000 years ago that we will go up to the sky by two ships. And so Egyptian civilization is an inspiration for all fields, for all specialists over the world.
Indeed, Dr. Elsanadidy. So the 27th of September 1822 happens to be the day of the Rosetta Stone, and it also now in the modern era happens to be World Tourism Day. So on this occasion, I want to ask a couple of questions. First of all, any relationship between the two dates? I mean, 27th of September. And second of all, what are you doing at NEMIC, the National Museum of Egyptian Civilization, to celebrate the Rosetta Stone discovery and World Tourism Day?
When the Champollion decoded ancient Egyptian language, so it opened for Egypt an open door. So a lot of tourists from Europe had come to Egypt to visit Egypt, and also to collect objects and artifacts. And European passionate to be rich and to passionate to object and artifacts, special ancient object and artifacts. And at that time there are many European museums started, and so many tourists, travelers had come to Egypt, and also many science started in Egyptology, as specialists in language, specialists in archaeology, specialists in excavation, specialists in medicine, and also around this field, all fields, different fields, in agriculture, specialists in agriculture, specialists in architecture, specialists in astronomy, specialists in education, specialists in social life and follow anthropology and specialist in preserving body and mummification, special things, had come to Egypt to learn, to search, to know the first point in the world which all these sciences had started.
Wonderful, sir. Mr. Mahrous Elsanadidy, specialist in Egyptology at the Dynamic Museum. It's a pleasure to have you with us today, and thank you very much for your informative knowledge. It's a pleasure, sir. Thank you very much. Dear viewers, stay tuned, for we still have more here on Nile Cruise. Don't go away.